Final Fantasy VII is known as one of the greatest JRPGs of all time. For some, the 1997 classic was their introduction to the JRPG genre and has a special place in many people's hearts. Fans have been clamoring for a remake ever since it was hinted at as early as 2005 as a tech demo for the PS3. Officially announced in 2015 and one delay later, it's an understatement to say that folks were excited. Now in 2020, how has Square Enix modernized a classic for veterans and newcomers alike? Let's find out.
Run, Cloud. Run away. You have to leave. You have to live. You bastard! Good, Cloud. Very good. Hold on to that hatred.
Final Fantasy VII Remake isn't so much a remake as it's a reimagining. The story zooms into the first few hours of the original and expands it into a 35-hour campaign. What were once glossed over details in the original have been thoroughly expanded through character backstories and world building. Our daring protagonist, Cloud Strife, is an ex-soldier for the evil electric company Shinra. Shinra is bent on using the planet's life force as energy to power the city of Midgar. At the request of his childhood friend, Tifa Lockhart, Cloud joins the eco-terrorist group Avalanche, whose goal is to cripple and stop Shinra's efforts from draining the planet of Mako. Avalanche members like Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse get more screen time this go around, and it was delightful learning more about them and why they're in the fight against Shinra. So even if you played the original, there's definitely new story elements to experience. I recently played the original Final Fantasy VII in preparation for release, and I experienced new twists and moments that made it feel like a new game rather than a traditional remake. And if you're a newcomer, you're not required to have played the original, but some foreshadowing moments and references won't hit as hard. I particularly enjoyed the voice casting. Cody Christian does an amazing job as Cloud, and Brianna White is perfectly casted as Aerith. The dialogue between characters ranges from side-splittingly funny to extremely heartfelt and adorable.
What are you doing here?
Waiting.
Why?
Because I'm not sick of you yet.
Some scenes are super extra and an absolute joy to watch. Like when you're in Walmart trying to get approval from the owner of a nightclub to gain access to Don Corneo's mansion by dancing the night away. Graphically, this is one of the best looking PS4 games I've ever played. Everything is extremely detailed. The transition from low polygon count to the capabilities of Unreal Engine 4 speaks for itself. Everything is just on a much grander scale. When you finish the first bombing mission on the Mako reactor and return to the streets of Midgar, you can see the exploded reactor in the distance. The streets are ravaged from the explosion, and it sets a tone that wasn't possible on the older hardware. Smaller additions like the seamless transitions from cutscene to gameplay make the world feel more connected. And while the in-game cutscenes are amazing in their own right, the CGI cutscenes are drop-dead gorgeous. If there's anything bad about the graphics, I would say the lighting gets overexposed from time to time, but it's hardly an issue. The music is a mix of new tracks and awesomely remixed tracks from the original. The new theme song is an absolute bop. The remix music from Sector 6 sounds like Final Fantasy went to the club, and I'm here for it. Remix music tracks also appear in various vending machines and shops for purchase, and I had to find them all. The music just elevates everything to that next level, and I can't get enough.
They just keep coming! We've got to do something! Hang on! Cloud!
I'm coming.
Remake exchanges the turn-based combat for a real-time combat system with turn-based elements. It takes inspiration from Final Fantasy XV and Kingdom Hearts. As you slash and guard, your ATB gauge will fill, allowing you to execute more complex attacks like Braver and magic spells. Certain attacks will pressure your enemy, and once the enemy is fully pressured, it will stagger and take extra damage. As I said earlier in my first impressions video, I really enjoy this combat system. It's a brilliant evolution of the original's combat, and it's super strategic when you're juggling characters. Cloud is an all-around fighter with a slight focus on melee attacks. Barret is a tank that specializes in long-range physical attacks. Tifa specializes in fast, close-range attacks. And Aerith focuses on long-range magical attacks. She's also your healer. Your weapons are also now upgradable with skill points, which is much appreciated. If you can't bear to part with Cloud's iconic Buster Sword, you don't really have to. I really enjoyed using weapons with subpar stats and upgrading them to my liking. Slotting materia in your weapon is how you learn different spells and melee attacks, and it works largely the same as it did in the original. There are a few new materia, like Deadly Dodge and ATB Boost, that I enjoyed using. You can also link your materia together to gain added effects like spread damage and elemental buffs and resistances.
You good?
Of course. My hero.
Certain chapters have side quests, and I did a handful of them. They range from finding missing cats to slaying monsters terrorizing the town. Most will give you pretty good rewards and something to go back to once you beat the main story. Speaking of replayability, once you clear the main game, you can return to any chapter with your current gear, similar to a New Game Plus. You also unlock Hard Mode, where items are not allowed to be used in battle and rest spots will only recover HP, not MP. Other difficulty modes include Easy and Classic Mode. Easy is as the name suggests. Classic Mode lets the characters auto-attack while you execute the timed commands like how it was in the original. You can also test your combat skills at the Shinra Combat Simulator and Wall Market Coliseum. I've poured 36 hours into this game already, and I intend to go back and pour in many more. I'm a big fan of hard modes in Kingdom Hearts games, and this will be no exception. I gotta go back and get my high score playing darts, too. Final Fantasy VII Remake is an amazing JRPG in its own right. Whenever you think it's gonna let up, it continues to go that extra mile in world design and character development. Experiencing all the visual upgrades with expanded story content really fleshes out the world of Final Fantasy VII, and it's got me on the edge of my seat for the parts to follow. It may not be the Final Fantasy VII we remember, but it's the one we imagined it to be. We here at the Gamepad give Final Fantasy VII Remake a 10 out of 10. For more on Final Fantasy VII Remake, check out our first impressions video of the first hour of gameplay. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the Gamepad for more news, reviews, and other gaming content. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you next time.